In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the modified grid to enlarge your sketches for your practice PBA. So you start with your already initialed sketches and you're ready to move on to your final paper. And you can see how this one can be enlarged to be on your final 9 by 12, but you have to draw a grid on both of them. For my small grid, I'm going to use this red pencil so that it's easier to see. For my big grid, you should use your 2H pencil and draw as lightly as possible because you have to erase it. So what we're going to do is to lay our rulers down. This is much shinier than I planned. Let's see if my clear guy does better. Yes, he sure does. All right, excuse me. So you're going to lay it down across the top. The top part should be 3 inches, so half of 3 is 1 1/2. So I'm going to make a little mark at 1 1/2, and as you always know, you go down to the bottom and you make a little mark down here at 1 1/2, just like this. Then you go over to the side. The side is 4 inches, half of 4 is 2. So you're going to make a little mark at the 2 inches, and then you'll go over to the other side and make a little mark over here. We're always measuring, we're not eyeballing. And then you line the ruler up with your little tick marks, making sure that it's touching both of the tick marks. And then you draw a line. And then you draw a line. Fantastic. So now I've divided this into quarters. Now how do I use that to help on my project? Well, what we're going to do is to make that same modified grid on your final paper. So here's my final paper. I'm ready to go. I have it all set up over here. Now I do the same thing that I did, but with the measurements for it. So it is 9 inches at the top, and half of 9 is 4.5 or 4 1/2. So I'll make a little line. You make a very, very light line. Mine is darker so you can see it. Then I'm going to go down here, and before I forget that 4 1/2 is half of 9, I'm going to make this little line again. And then I'm going to go over here. This is 12 inches. Half of 12 is 6, so I make a little mark at the 6 inch. And then I go over here on the other side, and I make a little mark at the 6 inch. Now, when you are drawing the lines, you'll use your 2H, and you're just going to push very, very lightly, like so very light, just barely holding this pencil. I'm going to do the same thing with my 2B, but you'll be able to see it a little bit better because I want you to be able to see it a little bit better so you can see it on the video. And then we do the same thing before, so it's exactly the same thing as what you did in your sketch. Now, the joy of this is that it tells me where I need to put everything so that my composition that I created in my sketch will look the same on my final paper. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking I probably need to make this guy a little bit bigger and a little further over. And I think that that's probably going to be okay, but you're looking at it to notice how to make it look. So when I get started over here, I'm going to look in this and I'm going to start working on my mountainscape, and over here off camera I have my reference pictures because I'm looking at both, this for the composition, the reference pictures for the actual shape of the images. And so here I want to know where I'm putting it. And you start by just lightly sketching things in the same kind of way that you did with the sketches. You do the same thing here for your final, because if you have to change it, you want to be able to change it without having to erase a lot of stuff and work really, really hard. You want to be able to make mistakes and recover from them. And then I noticed in the reference it's a little bit different. So I'm just using the side to draw out my main image like this, and I'm looking back and forth from the sketch to this, and I'm also checking my reference picture because again my sketch isn't necessarily as accurate. This is to represent the bushes. I know that's where I'm going to be putting my bushes in. And then I need to draw this little man. Now I just talked about how I want him to be bigger for the final, so I may end up adjusting this, but just for the sake of showing you how this works, I'm just going to draw him right here, and I know that he goes right here, that he should be by the line. And his little body will go go right there. And then this is going to go here. And then it'll go up and over like that. So then after you get it enlarged like this, then you go back in and you start adjusting the details. So I have the whole thing laid out. Now I can look at it and be like, okay, so I did decide to do it like this, but I really feel like I want him to be really tall and definitely in the foreground. And then you can make those changes, or you can continue with the drawing how it is. As soon as you have some of the details in, then it'll be time to erase the grid lines and then just look at your reference pictures and only refer to your sketch when you're not sure about placement.